Ooh, that's taking a long time today. Welcome, everybody, to a Wine and Comics pairing show, the last of the week. And we have two very special guests with us today. But real quickly, as always, I need to hop over to Instagram and make sure I have clicked go live there. We are live on Instagram. Yeehaw. And that's very important because we might not be live on Facebook today. Let us know. If you are watching from Facebook, please chime into the comments and let me know if that's working, because I've been getting something from Instagram saying no. But before we introduce our very special guests, you all came for the opening. It's what everyone comes for. Let's get to All right, we are in, and welcome everybody. We have two very special guests today, Ryan Kobroth, a villain's name if I've ever heard one, and John Edingfield the second, a knight's name if I've ever heard one, and that is perfect because they are bringing to us today their comic, Wurst Mayhem. And that is the main cover right there, and as you can see, here's our little like D&D inspired cover, alt cover. And this is a comic. The main two characters there on the front is sort of a villain and not really a knight. I suppose villain and knight is not the way to describe these two. It is more like knight adjacent, villain and dolt mercenary, something of that nature. So we're going to talk about Wurst Mayhem. They are in their final 24 hours of that Kickstarter campaign. So we will go visit that campaign page in just a bit. I'm going to drop a link in the comments as well. And as you can see on the ticker there down below, you can see how to spell Wurst, W-U-R, like bratwurst, W-U-R-S-T, and Mayhem. So you can go search that on Kickstarter as well. But first off, welcome, Ryan. Welcome, John, to the Wine and Comics Pairing Show. How are we doing today?
Thanks.
Good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
of course.
Awesome.
Of course. So I've known Ryan for a little bit. I've been following him on social media and following his comics. I've read all of Sunmaker that he has done and a number of comics that he has colored. But this is going to be the first time that we have actually talked face to face. So I'm very excited about that. John, this is the first time we've been talking pretty much at all. Very excited about that as well. So here's what I'd like to start off with, because, you know, and bear with us here, folks, because we rarely have two guests at the same time. So this is not something I'm used to the ebb and flow of. But let's start us off by saying, how did you two meet and decide? Let's start with meet, and then we'll get to Wurst Mayhem, or maybe you can just naturally flow into that. Let's start with Ryan here. Ryan, when did John pop up on your radar, or was it vice versa?
So back in like 2014, there was a massive open online course on makingcomics.com, and both John and I ended up signing up. This was like a class meant for people who haven't actually made a comic before. And John and I weren't in the same group, but there was like a general overall chat. And only a few people ended up going in it and checking in with other groups. And John was one of the people that was like, you know, checking in. And he had posted some of his stuff from Rancidville, and he had like this super cool map with like the R from the comic, like flowing with the water in the middle. I'm like, oh man, dude, that is so cool. And we ended up, you know, like chatting here and there. We ended up following each other on Twitter, and we would chat once in a while. And then it ended up being more and more often. And then we made Wurst Mayhem.
I wish it was that like that.
So John, from your POV, how did this come about?
What's the truth, John? What's the truth?
Everything is true, except that getting into comics was kind of kicking and screaming by me, and Ryan was more the inspiration. We shared a lot of stuff back and forth. We got involved with Comics Tribe's Tyler James comics launch and list launch programs, and then we were working. He was working on Sunmaker at the time, and I was working on Rancidville, and we kind of started chatting, and we really started becoming friends. And then we went from DMing each other on Twitter every once in a while to exchanging numbers to actually texting each other, you know, periodically and encouraging each other to go on. And then it became more and more. Now it's like every day, you know, we're talking every single day. But we decided when we were going to do our Kickstarters that we would launch them together. At the time, people were doing some minor cross promotion stuff where somebody would share somebody's project. Yeah. And Ryan and I thought, what a better way to do it than we will launch together, and we will both be doing this as a team, and we'll be feeding each other's lists and feeding each other's fan base, and it really worked out well. And so he did his 3 Sunmaker books. I did my 3 Rantedville books. He did an art book. We did an anthology. He was involved with that, my Not So Fair Tales anthology. And then we were between projects. At the time, Ryan was doing a lot of coloring. He's become this coloring genius. Everybody wants him. He's in high demand, and I'm very fortunate that he's my friend and working on Wurst Mayhem. But we both didn't have a project of our own, and that's really what we were wanting to do. Even though it's fun to work on other people's stuff, you always want to have your own project, something. And then that's when Wurst Mayhem happened.
Beautiful.
Like overnight. Just full formed. It came out ready to go.
Right. You did nothing, then this. And here we
go.
Go.
Exactly.
Like you just woke up and it was in your mailbox.
Right.
Like, wow.
Exactly. It's ready to go.
How hard is it to make comics? Why are people complaining all the time?
That's how you do it. You sit on it, you sleep on it, you mull it over, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready. And then you just do it. And here we go.
And then you just do it. Yep.
Yeah.
When John was online, he was kind of like showing me some sketches of just like random stuff. Like it was like barrels and like food laying in crates, and he had this like sketch of a dragon. And
you're like, what do you think? And you're like,
well, like he was just having some fun, like just doing whatever. And he had been like, I want to know what to work on next. And he just had like a list of titles. And I'm like, okay, well, out of all these titles, which one sounds the most interesting to you? And he's like, Wurst Mayhem sounds pretty cool. I'm like, okay, well, then there's our story. And then he's like, well, what's the story about? I'm like, well, you got your dragon there. Like, figure it out. Like, then we basically just sat there and we're like, okay, well, what if this? And the way we work together is we just try it. We make a lot of jokes. We try to make each other laugh.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there and doing this, like we've known, like he said, we've known each other for a long time. And while we were doing this, we hadn't laughed this hard ever.
Yeah.
And we were like, this has to be a thing.
Yep.
Is this, were there any jokes that you had to throw away?
Oh, yeah.
You loved the joke. Okay.
Well, no, so let me take it back. We haven't thrown anything away. There's a lot of yes and going on. We have moved jokes around. We have shared jokes with our editor who said, maybe there's something more there, and we've pulled it out a little bit more. We really haven't thrown anything. Our goal, each time we get together, we try to video chat at least once a week. We talk, like I said, we talk every day. We're like teenagers now. It's crazy. And our goal is
extreme.
Our goal is to make each other laugh. We try to come up with the stupidest shit we can think of and try to make the other person laugh. And if I can make Ryan laugh, it's golden. It goes in the book. I have a book. See, here's the book.
There you go.
Yeah.
So is that sort of the litmus test? Is like if the other person laughs, it's in, and if the other person has to think too hard about it, you're like, okay, never mind that one. Moving on.
Or we try to workshop it. We try to figure out, well, what's not working on the joke? Where's the joke failing? I get what you're trying to say, but where's the funny? How do we get the funny out of it?
I mean, you're doing stand-up comedy, right? Like that's the
system,
is like you go and you try shit out, and then if the audience is stone cold staring at you, you're like, right, not that one. Okay.
Exactly. We know that if we like it, there's going to be other people that like it because we're not the only twisted people on the planet. So,
nope.
In
fact, I was going to say, I think the non-twisted people are the exception, not
exactly.
Yeah, they're too boring. We're not trying to entertain them anyway.
No, not at all.
I mean, they would take one look at comics for the most part and just be like, "Oh, comics! I don't understand. What is this?"
Well, yeah. Well, they don't
blending all these genres. It's
Every page of art has some sort of blood or something in it, so they're like, "Wah!"
Yes. I will say, we'll get more into the comic specifically in just a little bit, but one thing that I was definitely taken aback by was how quickly it just gets right to it. And you're just sort of like 2 pages of kind of sort of prelude, and then it's just like dying, and it's like, and the death is like extraneous, and ongoing, and you're just like, okay. And the comic just keeps going, and you're like, is this all it is? And it's not, but it's like some of these scenes will go on in this almost like Mel Brooksian overkill way, where you're just sort of like, the absurdity is the point, right? And
Exactly.
I think it works well. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
So to take a step back, actually, when you guys were first collaborating, I know Ryan's Sunmaker, like there was a little bit of a lag between, like, say, especially between like issue 2 and 3 and things like that. Did you guys hold off for each other even then with your 3 issues? Did that actually go?
Well, let's make sure.
Okay.
John was waiting for me.
Yes.
John's issue 2 was done, or issue 3 was done, like, and I was still like inking Sunmaker 3, like he was done, and
right. I remember following all your newsletters and like the process and all the, and you're just like, I am hacking away at this thing, I promise, but it's like it's slow going.
To God, guys.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when I got Sunmaker issue 3, when that finally hit, I was like, oh, thank God. That was a nice little wait.
Yeah, it was
2 years.
You know, in Ryan's defense, he was working on paid stuff. I mean, he had a lot of paid gigs. I mean, I'll defend him all day long. But anyway, he was working on a lot of paid gigs, doing coloring for other people. You know, and that's important. You know, even though these books, you know, are books, nobody's paying us until we get to Kickstarter. Right. So if you got some paid work, go ahead. I could wait. In between, I did my anthology. So while I was waiting for Ryan to finish Sunmaker 3, I kickstarted an anthology of fractured fairy tales. So it's called Not So Fair Tales. And that was a fun book to do. And actually Ryan actually did a story in that too. So I even slowed him down further by having him and Mark Romero do a story for the Not So Fair Tales anthology. Okay. So, you know.
Like, sorry, good. John, we gotta wait for Sunmaker now. You got me doing stories in your book.
Yes, exactly. Shoot your own foot off. Yeah. But it was good. It all worked out well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because I you know, Rancidville is not a comic I was too terribly familiar with until essentially this moment, until like looking into both of you guys before the show and whatnot. I am very curious about it. I do want to look into it, but I didn't realize that you guys were doing that almost tit for tat thing with the Kickstarter campaigns. Probably because I'm a little overextended on Kickstarter, if I'm going to be honest. I feel like if I could pay more attention to each individual campaign, I would have noticed that. But I'm one of those people that pledges to way too many. And then the update emails, I'm like, very brief skim of each update email. And I'm just like, nothing super critical. Great. Okay, moving on. Okay, great. Moving on. I have like 100 of these
book showing up yet? No. All right.
Yeah, where's the book?
Exactly.
Okay, exactly.
Right. Important link. Are you canceling? Are you desperate? Like, I'll help out if, do I need to raise my pledge or share it more? If you're coasting and this is just like another stretch goal, and I'm like, yeah, don't care. And I'm sure we've all been there with
absolutely
with Kickstarters. Yes. All right, cool. So Wurst and Mayhem. So you did the whole back and forth. You did the jokes. When did you know you had the title? You had a dragon. I'm assuming just deciding. Did you know Wurst and Mayhem were your characters right from the get-go, or
but I didn't know who they were. I knew they were going to be the main characters, but I didn't know who they were at first. Ryan actually developed we workshopped Wurst's character, and Ryan actually developed her look in a really quick sketch while we were online together. I had Mayhem done already. So what happened was I had Mayhem. I did a turnaround for Mayhem because I wanted Mayhem to have this, Emperor's New Groove, Kronk type look to him, right? He's very big up on top. He's got tiny legs. So very muscular. I wanted him to, in D&D, I wanted him to have, like, if we look at the D&D aspect of it, he has a lot of wisdom and zero intelligence. He's just really not very smart, and the other character, Wurst, is, highly intelligent, but isn't very wise, and so we started developing that together. And like I said, Ryan did the initial character for Wurst, and then it just kind of snowballed. It was really going to be just a one-off story. It was really only ever supposed to be just this filler. We're going to have a project. How do we work on a project together? We always wanted to work on a project together, not just promote each other.
Right. And like a one-shot kind of a thing? You
Yeah, it was just going to be a one-shot. Yes, yeah. One-shot story, in and out. And we wrote it, and we got to the end of it, and we're like, this was so much fun. We could do this over and over. We could do it for as long as people want to read it, because we can make it for as long as people want to read it. And then we started developing an overarching story. So each individual book that we make is going to be in and of itself a one-off. You can read it by itself.
Okay.
You can pick it up anywhere. You can pick up issue 5 if we get to issue 5 and start reading. You can read it issue 2. You can read issue 1. But if you read them in order, you'll get more.
Right.
So how far out have you plotted?
12.
12.
Woo! That was more than I thought. God damn.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot more than I thought you'd say.
Yes. Crazy, right? Crazy. Yeah, we had issues 1 through 5 written.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Issue 1 is completely done. Issue 2 is completely written and edited, and I'm on page 23 of the inks for that. I have already drawn all the pages. Issue 3 has already done its first round of edits with James Powell. He's our editor. Issue 4 is completely written. Issue 5 is completely written, and issue 6 through 12 are outlined.
Holy shit!
Wow.
Crazy, right? Yeah.
John is a machine. And meanwhile, they're still waiting for me on that too.
I mean, you're coloring everyone's
frustration.
You know, what are you going to do?
Partner adds a certain thing, so that's the X factor. That's the
I was gonna say, like, one of the things I had said to John early on is, like, when I color this, like, I want to have a very simple coloring style that's not going to take forever. Like, when I color crossover division, I do a lot of, like, I'm trying to match lighting. I'm trying to do, like, very realistic stuff because the characters are realistic. I'm like, John, I want this like I love Fairyland or I hate Fairyland, and I want it to be colorful like that, but I want to be able to knock it out real quick.
Right.
And it basically settled into something really easy. And, like, when I have my pages prepped, like, the most I got done in a 2-week span while I was still working my day job was 22 pages, which to me is like, I wish I could do that on a normal book. Like, if I get 2 pages done a week, like, I'm like, that was a great week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is, so I know this is the first book / first issue / title of your joint imprint that you're putting together, Commonwealth Comics. Am I remembering that correctly?
That's correct. Yep.
Yes. Is there, so you have 12 issues of this plotted out. Do you also, I'm assuming you probably do already have at least ideas of other books, other titles, or is this for a little while?
We have so much. We have so much planned. Yeah, but
I'm going to be starting volume 2 of the idea book pretty soon. We just
yeah, it's like I said, it has taken on a life of its own. It is really cool. It has really grown quickly. So yeah,
that's amazing.
We have a lot of stuff in store, so it's good.
As long as people keep wanting it.
Yep.
Right. They keep funding, and you can actually make them. Then it's like, all right, we'll keep making them. This is great.
Yep.
When it came to Wurst Mayhem, how did you decide to split? Obviously, you wrote it together, especially in the way the humor came together. When it came to dividing the duties of the art and things like lettering and whatnot, like, how did you decide to separate those?
That's pretty easy. Like, we all just did what we were going to be best at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seriously. I like drawing. I like line art, but I'm not the biggest fan of coloring. And Ryan really loves color. He is just amazing at it. And then
John basically told me, if I didn't color it, he wasn't making the book.
Well,
Way to lay
He's
down
like-
the gun.
He's like, you're coloring this or else.
I feel like that's him being like, I waited years for you while you were getting your coloring game on. It's like, now I get to benefit from that, or we ain't doing this.
exactly. Yeah. And then our buddy Dave is the letterer, Dave Lentz. He letters for just everybody. He's just an amazing letterer.
Yes.
So he's the letterer. And then our editor is James Powell, who seems to edit everything now. So it's a good thing, you know, and he just makes it better. Yep.
Nice solid
Great.
team. Very good.
Love it. So when it comes to comedy, and I'll take each of you, John, let's start with you, and maybe your answers will be the same, but John, we're going to start with you this time.
Okay.
What are your influences? Like, where do you think your sense of humor comes from?
Where it comes from? That's tough. Well, I've always liked. Let's take a step back. Most artists and comedians have some baggage in their life that they don't really like to deal with, and so they turn to humor to take the edge off. And I think that that's where it really comes from, and I gravitated towards that early on. So I'm a huge fan of Robert Aspirin and the Myth Adventure stories. I love Terry Pratchett and the Discworld stories. I like satire, and that's really where it all derives from. And then I'm just fucked. So I'm a fucked up person. So, you know, it's a simple.
You got to let it out some way, you know.
Exactly.
That does the heavy lifting for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like I am the wounded, suffering artist in my way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I have like this horrible life, but you know, you live through these traumas in your childhood, and then you get to a point where you go, how do I deal with this shit without becoming a serial murderer, or how do I do it by being a serial murderer and nobody knows? I mean, no, you know.
And then he meets
Nobody knows.
even worse.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I met Ryan, and he was just like, hey, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that.
What kind of karma did I incur to be burdened with him?
Exactly.
How about you, Ryan? What was your comedic sort of background?
I mean, I feel like most of my answers are pretty much the same.
So murder, lots of murderous desires as well.
I watched American Psycho, and it's like they understand. That's me. Someone feel seen.
Yeah, exactly. They understand. These are my people.
Yeah, I like making people laugh. Like I used to teach karate, and like I'm up front, like so I got used to being in front of people. At work I'm in like a leadership role, and they thought I was gonna take it seriously. Apparently, I don't know. But like I really like making people laugh, and sometimes it's hit or miss. You like you were talking about the live comedy. Like I'm not too into like actual comedy stuff. But like, I like people that you meet in real life that are funny, like they're really enjoyable to be around. Like the people that like you never know what they're gonna say, and then you have to be on your toes to try to like react, and like you never know.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny. One of the things I'm currently doing is, and I only started this back in October, so I've really just been a wine nerd most of my life. I've never actually worked in the wine world, but I've started teaching wine blending classes on the weekend. And I also have a really irreverent sense of humor. Like I cannot take things completely seriously. If I have to get up in front of people and talk to them about something, I'm like, I mean, I'll get the facts out. They'll get a class out of it, but I'm like, I am not taking this shit seriously.
Right.
And I still have to have the argument / fight with my boss sometimes when he like will sit in on the class and like see, and he's like, oh, don't make fun of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, no, that's exactly what we should be making fun of. I'm like, that is to a T what's going to let people relax and get into it. Like that's the point. And the wine world, of course, is known for being a little, and this is a group that isn't even uptight as in ways that the rest of the wine world really is. But even there, they have a hard time unclenching and just being sort of like, and it's like, no, it's okay. We can make fun of ourselves. It's okay. So yeah, I feel you on that leadership role and not being. I would be the same way in a leadership role. I'm like, you can't, as long as shit's getting done and it's all quality and like there's no complaints. Who cares what jokes get made along the way and that people enjoy?
I won't repeat that to HR because they might not agree with me, but
right. Well, and I did end with that. If you didn't hear the qualifier at the end, as long as people enjoy them and they're not offensive. So there will forever be limit, and we're learning. There are so many more limits than, you know, in the cultural conversations we're having now, where it's like these always probably should have been the limits and we should have been much more aware of them, and we kind of, most of us weren't, but it's great that we are. So believe me, I'm not a Jerry Seinfeld style we should be able to make a joke about anything and fuck who, and like, sorry you're upset about that, and it's like, no that's not my
I am that guy.
And I'm often like, Dallas, he gets to say it a little more than I do, just being who we are. But even we'll argue, and I'll always be like, no. I'm like, because he's like, no, you should do that, and I'm like, no, I should not do that. I'm not gonna do that.
Do it.
It's
always
like,
do it.
Yeah, nope, not happening. So, why don't we go take a look at that campaign page? I think we're ready to do that. So let me share my screen. And let's look at Wurst and Mayhem. Number 1, a medieval caustic D&D style adventure. Ooh, that's a good actual. That was one more question. Were either of you two actual D&D players at any point in time?
Yes.
Just yes.
I just played for the first time like maybe 8 months ago.
Okay, there you go.
So I'm old. I'm older. I'm 10 years older than Ryan. I'm probably older than you guys. I was playing D&D when D&D first came out. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So your legacy.
Yeah.
Well, that D&D homage cover is legacy D&D like that, or at least that's the first I've ever seen.
Amazing cover, right? Yeah,
yes.
That's all Kyle Roberts and Ryan's colors. So
good stuff.
Beautiful stuff. That is really good. And Kyle, if I'm getting the right Kyle, I think he's on next week on the show. Actually,
that's awesome for Parent Guardian. That's his project, Parent Guardian. Yep.
The one that was a short that he's turning into a full.
Yeah. Yep. It looks awesome. Yep.
Beautiful. He just sent me the links, the PDF today, because it was a work in progress. So he was kind of just like your guys. He was like holding off to get as much done as humanly possible. And he's like, now here it is. So I just got it today. I haven't looked at it yet, but yeah, it's going to be next Wednesday or Thursday next week. So I think almost literally 1 week from now. So yeah,
I've been seeing the art for that for like the last year, and every time he shows me a new page, I'm just like, dude,
just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to digging. And I love the fact, it's really rare in movies. Short films get turned into feature films all the time. That's one of like the pathways to getting a feature film made. That doesn't happen in comics very often. You don't get someone making a short that is then like, and then it had a great response. So I'm going to turn that into a full length comic or a mini series or a ongoing. And I'm like, that's not really a comic pathway thing, but. So I'm very curious that happened in this instance.
All right, really
so
cool
guys.
Yes. Well, that's about cut.
Yes.
What? He's great.
He's great. But about that.
John's like, get back to me.
Yeah, what about me?
So Wurst and Mayhem, as you can see, guys, they have 23 hours left to go. That's how long you got to get in on this magic. It is already funded, 6,100 out of 5,000. So they are solid, over 100 backers. Love it.
Yep.
Oh, and let's play the video if everyone's okay with that.
John, you forgot to delete the video.
I know.
Hey, everybody. I'm John.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're cartoonists living in Pennsylvania.
And we're here today to talk to you about our latest Kickstarter, Wurst and Mayhem.
Wurst and Mayhem is a medieval caustic adventure about two strangers who are bound by a curse and must work together to pay off the debt.
So how can you help? Well, we're glad you asked.
Take a look at our reward tiers to the left of the screen.
At the very least, you can get a PDF delivered right to your email.
And of course, you can get a physical copy of the book.
But keep scrolling. You can get a sweet piece of comic book art on archival ink on heavy Bristol board.
We also have some incredible variants, as you can see from behind me, made by amazing artists.
And you can even get a sketch in the book by me.
Or me.
And there's much, much more.
So what are you waiting for?
Click the green button, back this project.
And help us bring this project to life. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, who mounted those on the wall? Because they are perfectly mounted. Wow.
That was me. Thank you.
He probably had one of those little laser beam levelers.
Seriously,
I wish I had one of those little
that's what
laser
I was drawn to. I was like, holy shit, I need you to come hang some photos in my home. Yeah.
Or let us know the tricks. Let us know the hints and tricks. How do you do that? He's like, I'm just obsessive compulsive.
Yeah, I'm just OCD. That's what it is.
Yep. And I did love good. I can see Ryan. I could totally see that. Like, I cannot take this that seriously, even though some of my lines are completely serious. Not delivering them that way.
Yeah, it was hard. I messed up that so many times. I messed up the opening to that so many times. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's funny.
Yeah,
there was
can you
one
believe that only
moment
took
where
us 6
you like
hours?
scowled and shook your head, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, that was a fine delivery." And you could like see yourself judging yourself in the moment,
The whole time. The whole time.
the whole time.
I was waiting for him to pause that one too, and we got to the end. He's like, "That's it. We're done. We're done. We're done."
Yeah, he's like, "Fuck this! I know I'm not doing this again."
How
Yeah,
about it?
yeah. And
He's
we're
like,
again,
"I'm
me
not
and
even
Dallas are
watching
from
it. We're
the-
just uploading it right to Kickstarter."
yeah. Well, yeah, that's for okay. So Dallas still won't watch our episodes after either. If there's ever any editing that needs to be done, I always do it. He's like, I'm not watching myself. I'm like, no, I understand. I feel the same way, but when we started, and we weren't doing live streams for the first many months, so everything was an edit. It was all pre-recorded, and I would edit it down. And I got used to it. You get used to it. You get past that wall where you're just like, you stop giving a shit that it's you and your voice and your face and your everything. And you're just, all you're caring about is that the edits work and that it's at the right length. And you're putting all these bells and whistles and art on screen and blah, blah, blah. And you just want it to flow smoothly. But yeah, we're about to launch a podcast version, and I know a non-visual, just hearing myself talk, that's going to take some getting used to as well. So, because I'm not, I hate my recorded voice. God, I hate my recorded voice. So that's going to be a whole new barrier. All right. So we are down to, here is the main cover art. We can get a little bit of a closer view here from what I put up on screen earlier. There's our main two guys. And I do love
have we worked
all
in
the
the
stuff
villain
going on.
known as Kobroth yet?
The villain known as Kobroth. That's funny.
I'm telling you, it's a villain's name. If there ever was one, it's perfect.
We're
It's
gonna
such a
work on
Bond
it.
villain, like
Crowbot.
Crowbot. Right. We have to infiltrate Crowbot's lair.
The only way to stop him is to say his name the right way.
Right.
Oh God, that guy would be on the series forever.
So wait, did we get the pronunciation right? What is the pronunciation?
Crowbot. I think you guys got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, close enough. Close enough.
I don't
If
even
I'm
listen
saying it
most of the
wrong,
time anymore.
it's hopeless. I'm never going to change. Just
You got my
accept it.
name right off the bat, which is crazy because most people screw that up. They either say Edingfield or
Right.
Actually, I thought it was Edingfield first. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I will say the only reason I know your name is because I had to type it up so many times in the title, and the thumbnail, and the everything. And so I'm like, oh, Edingfield. Oh, son of a
That's
bitch.
it.
I did not notice all the vowels that were in there.
Yeah, it's a long name, 10 letters. It's crazy. Yeah.
It is. Well, and Eden felt like I feel like it's more common to just see like the EDEN, feel like Edenfield or something like Edenfield. And so in my head, I was saying
double
Edenfield.
D.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody wants
Oh,
to put
yeah.
another D in there. You know, it's crazy.
Yes. But because I typed it a couple of times and I was
There you go.
I fucked up people's names in the past and never again. So I'm like, I double check. I like go back to your social media profiles and I'm like, did I put the right vowels in there? And I'm like, no, I fucking did not. Okay, let me go back and fix that.
That's great.
All right, so as you can see here, guys, this is the preview pages right here. This is
The
page
epic
number 1.
preview.
Yes, and we mentioned how quickly this thing starts. So this is page
Absolutely.
number 1. We're just like setting. It's a town. We're in a little tavern. Mayhem runs in. You have 2 more panels, and the death begins. And the death
Get right to business.
continues and continues.
Well, that was
And
funny.
gets even more graphic.
Those scenes were funny because when I was drawing those, we wanted a couple of scenes of fighting in the tavern before they met, and Ryan and I came up with the idea that it's kind of like a round robin. That one guy kills one guy, then the next guy gets killed by the guy behind him, and the next guy, and it's just
King of the
it's just
Hill.
so absurd
Well,
that
yes.
It was fun.
Well, that was the one thing I had to go back and reread those opening pages, quote unquote, relook at the opening pages a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because as it kept going, I was like, wait, whose fucking side is anyone on? I'm like, who are these teams? And then I went back and I'm like, nope, it's just mass wholesale slaughter. Okay, got it.
Yep.
I know exactly how you feel, because as I was coloring it, I'm trying to figure out who all the dead bodies are.
Yes.
I'm trying to match them up where they are in the battle.
Well,
This guy got murdered by the table. This guy got murdered by the bar.
Yep. Ryan had the greatest idea. When you look at the pages, if you look at Wurst in the back of the panels, on each murder, she's like raising her glass and drinking, and it's going down. The next one, the person did. Wurst is just sitting there drinking while everybody's getting slaughtered until she gets shot with an arrow, and then.
Yep. The shot with an arrow, and then she's in. Throwing the table over and in on the game.
Yeah.
And by ever so minor miracle, and I think this is the other thing, is these two, Wurst and Mayhem, don't kill each other. And they do flick each other and thumbs up and flick each other off, respectively. That was a great character moment to just be like, these are these two characters in a nutshell, one panel go.
Yep.
Yep. And but yeah, they actually wind up staying, even though everyone else is an enemy. Like everyone else is an enemy. These two somehow kind of don't slaughter each other, which was but that was one of the things. Is I was like, but who were all these people? But it was everybody. It was just everyone. It's what do they call it? Like Roadhouse, right? It just becomes a tavern brawl, and there you go.
It's a free for all.
A much more bloody and fatal tavern brawl.
Yes.
More decapitations than Roadhouse. Let's put it that way. You can put that as your pull quote. More decapitations than Roadhouse.
I think that needs to be one.
I do too.
The Wine and Comics Pairing Show. More decapitations than Roadhouse.
You think it's funny? It's going down.
No, I think it's funny, and that's why I'm pretty sure it will go down, right? We just discussed this.
We have definitely amassed quite a list of pull quotes through the course of this series for people, so we'll take it.
Now what the fuck happened?
And this is, guys, 58 pages, which is amazing. I do love that. So just in case you thought all those pages of wholesale quick slaughter were like, but it's eating up the page count. Not really. It's still 58 bloody pages in this guy. So it's well worth your time. This is a big fatty. Worth the money. Here's a closer up of Kyle Roberts's alt cover that we were just not gloating about. What's the word I'm looking for? Gushing. Thank you. Gushing about. Thank you. But yeah, you can see he's got some mad skills here.
Yep.
It took me a year to color that thing. I got that last January, like January 2023.
Yep.
And it's just been sitting there. Like I flatted it and it just sat there.
Right. And you just stared at it like, that's going to be work. I don't know. When am I going to do that?
I love working over Kyle's stuff. Like I've done some stuff with him. I've colored some of his movie posters. I did his, he did a art book, like a sketchbook collection, and I got to color the cover for that. So like I love working over his stuff. Like the people that I like enjoy working with the most are people like John or like Kyle, because like when you see it from far away, it's great, but really great artists is like when you zoom in and you're like in the art and you see how it's made and then it's still great. Like those are the people that it's so enjoyable to color.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very true.
I can see that. And another alt cover.
Yeah, that's Jim Burton from
James Burton.
James Burton. Yeah, James Burton. Yep.
Yeah, that is glorious.
Yeah, he's awesome. That's an awesome cover.
That is good. All that, yeah. The two framing each other just perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the most colorful of the variants.
Yeah, that's MJ Massey's. She does the Alchemist of Aurelia, and that's actually painted by hand. She does everything.
It has
with
a
an air
Cabbage Patch Kids quality to it, actually.
Yeah,
I really
yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she's over
a garbage pail.
Yeah.
That's
when she's sitting over the sketch for the Mimic, we're just like, that's it, man. That's awesome.
We could tell that was the one she wanted to draw.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
That's beautiful. Gorgeous.
Eventually,
All
that's
right.
going to be behind John on his wall.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Seriously, John, I think you've got a secondary business here, a little secondary income stream, because I'm telling you, those corners, those angles were just laser sharp. Seriously.
Dallas is like, I will pay you. I will pay your travel expenses to come to me.
I've never hung a single thing evenly or flush on a wall ever.
I know. Me either. I always get it just kind of good enough, and I'm like, if I don't stare too hard at it, it works. I'm good now, and I'll go with it. But yeah, it's fucking impossible.
I just turn my stuff into like a Monet or whatever,
Same.
whatever I do with the squares. Like mine are just all shapes all over.
Well, it helps. It helps when you're in LA and like all the architecture here is crooked to begin with. It's weird. Like they're not good. Making shit here. It's like every floor is not even. Every wall is not entirely even with the floor. When you actually try to like these bookshelves behind me and get them flush against the wall, you're like, what the actual fuck? This is not a straight line. Like how? And like none of them are. So it at some point the crooked poster almost kind of works with the rest of the architecture because they're not actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. No one was that careful with them, but yeah. All right. So we have rewards wise, guys, $8 for the PDF, and that is 58 pages. Don't forget. So $8 for a 58-page PDF. Some people call that a fucking graphic novel, and you're going to get that for $8. The physical copy for 18 with the main cover physical at the very least. And then we get into the alts and $22 for at least the Kyle Roberts and the James Burton. Yep. And 22 for the Massey as well. Yeah. So any alt cover for 22 or pick 2 for 36 or all 4 for a whopping 60, which is really good. Actually, I'm thinking about the math on that, right? Yeah. Sweet.
We really wanted people to get the value out of it. Like, so anybody that's out there that's collectors, like we're not trying to milk people. Like we want people to want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, if you're thinking of getting them, I'm sure these are all available as add-ons as well. But don't forget, guys, add-ons are a la carte, so you can't, like Kickstarter doesn't automatically give you the deal or anything like that. So you got to get the tier if you want the sort of bundled price on these things.
Yep.
All right, RPG miniature, which is actually a really good miniature. I mean, that's some detail, man.
Cool, right?
That is. They look a little too chummy, but outside of that, like I look at this and I'm like, oh, it's almost like they are friends.
If you could see her face, she's like,
yeah, she's not happy.
Like, if you touch me again, I will rip your arm off and beat you with
so
it.
Yeah, so as usual, it's just Mayhem, who's like, "Hey, friend, hey, pal."
Yeah,
what's going on?"
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
For fuck's sake.
whole line in the comic where he introduces her, himself, and he calls her his friend, and Wurst says, "We're not friends. You just have to get to know me. We just haven't known each other long enough yet. That's it."
Yeah. I mean, he's very much the Dumb and Dumber character of the piece, where it's like, nothing quite phases them. Like, they're obtuse, but also in that almost winsome way, because they're just like, you can't break down their optimism and their positivity and their likability, but they are also not the sharpest tool in the shed. So very annoying. Very quickly. I mean, he led the slaughter to that tavern. He was just like, "Hey, can I get some help, guys?" "Oh, great." "Oh no, you're all dead." "Oh well." It's just like, dude.
Everything he does, he's dragging people into some mayhem, which is the whole.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, we have this whole idea that the story now is revolving around an alternate history. We're introducing historical characters from the Middle Ages and stuff, and we come up with the idea that the words "worst" and "mayhem" didn't exist in the English language until these two showed up.
Cute. Very cute.
I like that.
I do like that. And yeah, all 4 covers and the RPG figure, which if you got them separately would be $125, $95 if you get them here as a bundle. So that's a huge savings. Mm-hmm. Oh, and a comic page, original art, $135. Do you love that? That is, of course, uncolored, because, of course, all coloring takes place digitally these days. So
all the original art is printed with that border around it, the custom border that's in the comics. Like, that is on the original art.
Yeah,
beautiful. Wow.
Yeah,
why I will not flat the book myself.
Yeah, we wanted to make something that was totally different than anything that was out there. We came up with this border idea. I drew it once, I created the border, and then I sent it off to Ready Comics and had custom artboards made. So I ink right onto the custom artboard that has that border on it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
It was like a real happy accident. Like it just all ended up working out. Like, that wasn't like the plan from the beginning.
Nothing was ever planned.
I mean, that's the joy of having your own thing, right? It's like you can you get to make it up. You get to make it up as you go along and keep every idea that you wind up liking.
Exactly.
No one can tell you boo. Yeah. All right. Custom sketch, $200 to get your own custom sketch in the comic. Original Kickstarter. Oh no, all gone. Never mind. We're just gonna quickly pass over that. All gone. All right, I think we might be at the all gones. Yes. Okay. So, but the things you missed out on, in case you want to be on the ball next time and actually get in on the ground floor, you did miss the original Kickstarter image. In addition to all of the covers, blah, 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 blah. This tier includes a CGC slabbed and graded issue of Wurst Mayhem #1 and the original black and white Kickstarter image right here, framed and ready to display. So that's gone. And you also missed the Mayhem Madness. I'm assuming is this like everything in the kitchen sink?
It's just everything. It's you're going to get a slabbed copy of every comic. You're going to get a reading copy of every cover. You're going to get the minifig. You're going to get original art. You're going to get a comic book page. You're going to get one of my kidneys. It's crazy.
Oh, no, that one's actually for a cameo in the book, so they're going to be getting
a cameo. Yes, there's a cameo in issue 2. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. But it's gone, so you can't get it this time. But maybe next time
comes in, and he's going to become the villain.
There you go. Woo. All right. And then we have the stretch goals, which they have you funded. So you're making the book. I do like I like that as a stretch goal. It's like, we're making it. We did it. It's kind of I guess when you think about it, it's like if we didn't fund that, technically we wouldn't have made the book. So consider it a stretch goal, guys. We stretched.
Yeah, you would have seen it. If you look down, there's treasure piles. Each reward is hidden until we hit it, so you don't even know what it is until we hit that goal.
Gotcha.
And the piles get bigger and bigger as you go down.
Beautiful. All right, so but we have unlocked
work to color.
You owe him. You owe him all this coloring. You know, he's gonna get his wait times worth from the previous years. So okay, then the phone wallpaper has been unlocked. The official bookmark has been unlocked, and they're pretty close. Let's at least get to 6,500 in these last 23 hours, guys. So probably around 22 at this point, because we've been gabbering away for a little while. But 6,500, let's at least get to there. And then they do have planned, supposedly, they do have planned 1, 2, 3 more after that. So don't make Ryan's coloring go to waste. Let's unlock as many of these as we can. All right, and then a few more add-ons.
People that if we get to $10,000, John's going to read the comic.
Like audiobook?
Yeah.
When he plans all the stuff out, he does voices for all the dialogue, and it's hilarious.
Okay, beautiful.
He said if we get 10 grand, he's gonna do it. So let's.
I'm a mess.
Let's do it, people.
I entertain myself. That's what it is.
All right, and then we also have for the add-ons, all the Sunmaker books. Are these your
those are Rancidville?
Rancidville? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, beautiful. Those are
Got it.
And then we all yes, the Not Fair Tales.
Yep.
Of course, you can add the figurines, either colored or not.
Right.
And the budget. We pretty much know where the money goes to these things.
Yeah.
We're in the know. And then of course the team, as we've discussed them up to this point before. All right, any last things people should know about the campaign before we move on beyond it?
No, we're in the last 23 hours or whatever.
22 hours now.
Yeah.
You've got until 5 p.m. So pretty much right when this show started tonight, you've got until then tomorrow. And it's
8 p.m. Eastern time. 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
Yep.
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So if you're on the Pacific Coast, don't wait until you get home from work tomorrow. It's too late. You got to do it before then. Yep.
Right. And the variant covers will probably not be available after the Kickstarter. They're very limited. They're limited to the Kickstarter. So, if you're jonesing for the Kyle Roberts or the James Burton or the Massey cover, you got to do it before the campaign ends.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's right. And so one more. Let's just let's tempt everyone one last time.
Right.
The Kyle Roberts, the James Burton. Sorry, James Burton. Don't know where the fuck Powell came from. And the MJ Massey.
He's the editor.
And so
he's the editor. There we go. I'm like, why did I say James Powell?
real quick, guys, one last time, tell everybody who this book is for. One more time, rub it in their faces.
Who it's for? It's for anybody that likes D&D. They like comedy or adventure stories. They like irreverent humor. If they're not averse to a lot of gore and relatively
especially in the first 5 pages.
Especially in the first 5 pages. Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Well, I think it's at the wine pairing moment of the show. I will go first tonight because Dallas went first last night.
You will.
Yes, I will. And Dallas will be happy. This is I did not do a red tonight. And I will say, this was a book there. I do have some reds that I will suggest for people who just aren't into whites, who can't do rose days very much or anything like that. Here we go. So you got it.
And pair.
Yes.
Not
and
wine,
this,
not flight.
This is my pairing. Dallas hates that I do this. This is my pairing, but I do, people aren't into white wine. I don't want them to be like, well, then I don't need this comic because I don't drink white wine. You need to have options. That's what we're here for. So I will say, before I get to this, I did think a white wine paired best with this. This is a comic that is, it's very light on its feet. It's very spry. It's got an effervescence. It's got a sparkling quality to it. The humor is nonstop. It really does. I mean, when I say nonstop, like it doesn't really stop for story. It's like there's none of this like. And then we have the very important solid parts. and then we end on a joke. It's like the jokes are panel to panel to panel to panel. Like it's all over the place. And some of the jokes are very extended, like that opening slaughter scene where it's just kind of an ongoing joke for a lot of pages. And you're running with it. And once you get in sync with the style of the story, you know, I think you definitely pick up on how fast. I mean, I read this thing and it's not even, yes, that opening sequence was very dialogue light, but the whole comic is not that dialogue light. Like there's a fair amount of gab in the middle parts, but it's still like I blew through this thing. So there was this energy and movement to the comic, and of course that comedy, which is very irreverent and very ever present. That I felt like, you know, most Reds are just too heavy for this. Even though it's gory and it's bloody and there's lots of fatalities, none of it is taken seriously. None of it is like, you're not supposed to cry over any of these characters meeting their fates. So this is very much, I was like, yeah. Now, if you are someone who it's like, I just cannot get into whites, and you can't get into rosés, because I do think, one, if you can get into sparkling wine, I will say that like, but you can't get into still whites and rosés, do a sparkling. That's got that effervescence. That's got that literal sparkling quality to it. That's still not my number one pairing, but I think that would do in a pinch. And red wise, I think if you went with something like a Beaujolais, or you went with like just a Gamay. Beaujolais is Gamay, but if it's not from Beaujolais, then it would just be called Gamay on the bottle. That is a very light-bodied, chillable red. And it's got that like tart spark of energy to it. Very light on its feet, not heavy at all. You can, you know, Beaujolais can be a little dangerous just because of how bloody quaffable it is. Like you can chug this stuff and you're not going to feel it. But that doesn't mean there isn't a decent alcohol content in there. You're just not going to feel it until it's too late. So go with Gamay or Beaujolais. I think that would be great as red. But for me, I had to think about a white. Now, I didn't in the ultimate end. The reason I think sparkling does in a pinch, but is not the best. And I think any white that is too tart or too purely mineral driven and pure citrus, where it's just that bright and lively, but there's no body, there's no weight, there's no sweetness to it. I think that doesn't work either, because this is in the end a comic to have a lot of fun with. It's harkening back to a lot of things from our childhood. It is humorous in ways that can be kind of dark. It's not heavy, but it needs a little bit of something that has a little bit of body, a little bit of sweet fruitiness to it. Sweet on the palate, quote unquote, not sugariness. And so what I went in the ultimate end is a white wine from South Africa called Chenin Blanc.
Uh-huh.
And this is a Beaumont Chenin Blanc. South Africa today is the biggest producer of Chenin Blanc in the world. It is originally a French white wine. And in France, they still produce it. If you ever buy a Vouvray or a Savigny, that is Chenin Blanc. That's what they make there. But they don't make as much of it as they used to. And you can find a Chenin Blanc in California, Paso Robles, Napa, both do some Chenin Blancs. But again, kind of rare. You don't see a lot of Chenin Blanc in the States. You see a little bit made in the States. This is an import. But South Africa is kind of where Chenin Blanc has really like found its new home. And that is because Chenin Blanc basically goes on a range from super light and minerally, where it's all like hay and straw flavors, with this very sort of lemon citrus note, almost like a passion fruit type of flavor. So it's really tart. And if it's in a cool climate, you're going to get that. And then it goes more towards green apple, then to pear, and then you get all the way to peach apricot, the warmer you get. And South Africa sits in this beautiful sweet spot middle, where you're getting more of that green apple to pear. You're getting some of that juiciness, some of that sweetness, but still a lot of that liveliness and tartness, and it's not going all the way into peach apricot. It's not quite getting that heavy. It stays very light feeling on the tongue. It's not cloying. It's not super sweet. It's got that effervescent quality while still having some of that fruit sweetness. So I could not find another white that quite did the trick like this one. So I'm going with South African Chenin Blanc.
All right. I'll
over to you.
allow it.
Eye roll.
I'll allow it. All right, so generally my sort of route into the wine and comics pairing is I either choose a wine I want to enjoy as a character in the world of the comic graphic novel, or the wine I'm going to enjoy while I'm pacing around my home screaming, "God, this is awful!" No, and I chose the former. And
By the way, Dallas, quick side note. I did want to tell you that Monday, the show you did have to miss. I'm sorry, Tuesday, the show you did have to miss. I finally did the wine that I would drink in the world of the comic. I've never taken you up on that, and I finally did it on the show. You weren't there.
There you go. There you go.
But I just wanted to give you that credit. Anyway, keep going.
All right. So you do have some taste. I kid. But yeah, I decided to pair, to find the wine that I would enjoy drinking as a character, sort of a Where's Waldo in the background who never lifts a hand to help anyone, who, he's seeing old ladies and children die right at his feet. And he's stepping over them to, get a better vantage point because that's my character in the world. I'm the guy who follows these guys into the tavern and posts up by the fireplace with the glass. It's just like, ooh, and for me, this world is so D&D sort of adjacent that I start thinking about, sort of the role-playing games and sort of the sort of just chaos and omnipresent kind of death and mayhem. And particularly the meals I may encounter in this world, particularly the meals I may encounter in like the taverns you have in Act 1. And it's likely going to be either large hunks of just meat with some potatoes, very little sort of aromatics. It's the food of function.
With the sheer resources he had at the end of the opening scene, that would probably be mostly cannibalism at that point, but sure.
Precisely. But as I said, chunks of meat. So I knew I wanted a wine that would stand up to sort of poorly prepared meats or and sort of just rudimentary kind of meals. And generally that's going to be your red. You're going to need something with a nice mid tannin, even a high tannin if there's a high fat content. But I decided to look for something that had a bit of an edge. So I started with the red. I knew kind of the class of reds I wanted. I wanted something maybe a Zen, from the sort of Zen family. And curiously with Zens, you get lots of jammy, blackberry, dark fruit notes. You get, sometimes you can get a hint of sort of a rose in the back. So lots of aromatics can kind of come through the Zen. Lots of berry, you get some oak, you can get some vanilla, you can get some of these sort of really pleasing kind of notes. And I want to take a step further though. So I looked for something that was perhaps aged or prepared in a slightly curious way. And I remember having a wine from this particular vineyard some years ago, and they do very curious things. It is a winery that is out of Lake County, California. They purchased this massive plot of land that had some an old distillery on it, and they still had some of the casks and still had some of the barrels. And so what they ended up doing was taking their Zinfandel and aging it in these bourbon barrels. And so I chose a bourbon barrel-aged Zinfandel out of Lake County. And again, you get some sort of cab aromas. You get those bold complex notes of chocolate and coffee and raspberry, and that hint of vanilla in the back. Everything that would make a meal of someone's torso sort of add food to that. You get some cherry, you get all these sort of great sort of aromatic things on the nose and on the palate, on the nose and on the palate. So yeah, my choice was this dry red. It is this Buckshot Zinfandel, which is aged in
Perfect.
these. Yeah, it's Buckshot, and it's aged in these bourbon barrels. It is aged for 3 months. It's got that ripe dark berry plum compote thing. It's kind of all over the place, but it has a solid acidity for breaking down and complementing these sort of rude meats. So this is the 2020 Buckshot Zinfandel. It is a very quaffable wine. It is fun to drink. It is a little quirky, kind of like your piece here.
How strong are the bourbon flavors in that, would you say?
You know, the first glass is not very strong, but it weirdly opens up over time. And I think it's because of those charged sort of notes from the bourbon barrels kind of just dissipate a bit and allow everything else to kind of come to the forefront. But yeah, it's a fun little wine, and that's the wine I'd be drinking while watching, you know, the mayhem go on around me and not lifting a finger to help.
I definitely approve of the thought there. Like, I think that is a good pairing. I hate bourbon barrel aged wine. I've tried so many. I've tried to get into.
I'm not a huge fan. But
this one's okay.
I think of the combination of this world and the wine that I would probably get the most enjoyment out of. It's something that requires a little chewing, because this wine does require a little chewing to enjoy on its own. But with a good meal, a feast for your eyes and senses that you guys have presented in this world.
So you're saying with some rotten meat, it's pretty good.
Yeah, some old moldy mutton.
Right. AKA this comic, right? You know, if you got this kind of stinky, rotten thing that you gotta consume, it's like
completely
drink some of this
hard
to go with
it.
Yeah, you gotta chew it. But totally worth it, because you just again, you know, I enjoy the idea of imagining myself as a character who walks in behind these guys in the tavern, post up next to the fireplace, grabs a glass.
If you give us your approval, you will totally be in the back of one of the panels watching the murder scene.
Do with me what you will, my friend.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do with me what you will.
Good luck finding a photo of him online.
I just snapped one right now.
There you go. I was gonna say that's what it's gonna take. Our videos are kind of the only place right now. He's such a recluse.
Ryan, whenever you get it earlier that we could just grab it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, Ryan, if you do it, let me know. I'm more than happy. I knock it out of the park.
They'll just be like, "Good job, guys."
Yeah.
Good job on that deck. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I approve.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Well, now is the time of the show where we're going to turn it back over to you. We always ask our guests to bring on a third-party comic that they have loved for a long time or just simply are loving right now, to give it a shout-out and pair it with a beverage of their choice. Ryan, start us off. What do you got for us?
All right. So I'll probably mess this up. I tried my best to do it like you guys. All right. So the book I chose is World of Warcraft.
Ooh.
So I paired it with water because everybody's doing fantasy books out there. No, I'm just kidding. So I did pair it with a red, because that's pretty much all I drink. And so the wine I chose is from some of the oldest vines in the area, and the vines that are old produce fewer grape clusters. And those ones produce smaller berries that yield intense dark fruit flavors. So just like one of the oldest comic legends is Walt Simonson, and he's the writer on this, which I just made that connection last night when I reread the book. And I was really hoping
shit.
Yeah, right. Like the guy that wrote Thor or drew Thor,
right.
Like I didn't realize he was the writer on it. And then I was really hoping that the wine would be from France, because that would have made like a perfect segue. However, this wine is actually made in California, so you guys should appreciate that. So speaking of France, the artist Ludo Lullaby is from France, and after finding this comic, he ended up becoming one of my favorite comic artists. He's gone on to do stuff for Darksiders.
Okay.
He's done like some cutscenes and stuff for them. Now currently he's drawing Battle Chasers. Where Joe Madureira dropped it off. Ludo's picked it up, and
did not realize they brought that back. Did they?
Yeah,
really?
I haven't picked it up yet. So I'm terrible. And so just like
one of your favorite artists on an old school comic, and you're like, yeah, I'll get around to.
I have some of his French stuff that I can't read.
Well, it should make you feel better if you ever thought you were behind on schedule with like your own comics. Like, there's Battle Chasers, right?
This is true. That should be why he's one of my role models. So just like the aromas of black cherry, juicy blackberry, peppercorn, and charred oak.
Juicy Blackberry. That was my nickname in college. Sorry.
So like all his art just like works together, and it just becomes so energetic, and it's just gnarly, which segues into my choice, which is Gnarly Head.
Gnarly Head. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tab Saab,
nice.
Gnarly Head, baby.
Look at you. You're
Nice.
a pro at this.
I totally didn't like read all that off the internet, copy it down, and treat it like it was like one of my reports due for high school, where I just took 3 sentences from the internet and turned it into a thing.
It counts.
Oh no, that is
we lost John.
No, we did. I think he froze, so I think he's going to come back in just a second, and then we'll stall for time while he's coming back. But even us wine nerds, and I don't know if Dallas does this as well. I assume he probably does a little bit. And here comes John back again. Welcome back, John.
Yeah.
Now you are unfroze. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you edging in a field? Sorry.
How about it?
You're not getting out of this that easy, John.
How about it?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what the
He's
hell
like, oh, is it
happened.
my turn? Oops, I lost signal.
Everybody was just like spinning, and I'm like, where did everybody go?
I was going to say to Ryan, just to wrap that up, that I look up stuff all the time because there's the stuff you think you know, and then even if you're like a total wine nerd, and I'm like, ooh, it's the South African Chenin Blanc, and then I'm like, I'm going to say X, Y, and Z about it, and then I'm like, wait. Just in case anyone who knows anything about wine is watching ever, let me actually look that up on the internet and make sure I'm even in the right ballpark, or if I didn't just make half that shit up. And sometimes I have totally in my own head made shit up about a wine.
Absolutely.
Where like then I look it up and I'm like, wait, they say what about it? It's supposed to have
man, if
what
I would have known
properties?
that, I would have just made shit up.
Exactly. So you always look that stuff up. So
That's
kudos
funny.
on you for choosing a wine. I do always love it when people can and do. But talking about people who simply we'll say can't, but also just don't, which, you know, sober lifestyle, I do approve in many ways. I think it's healthy. It is. I mean, drinking in light amounts can have health benefits and don't seem to have detractions to your health. But of course, abuse of alcohol, which a lot of people can fall into very easily, has horrible health detractions. So yeah. And that is always so like do what you think is best for yourself. Everyone's got to.
Yeah, I just don't. I haven't ever
enjoy it, right?
I have tasted various wines and different forms of alcohol. I just don't. I don't like it. The only thing I've ever enjoyed was a plum sake that I had about 30 years ago now.
Holy shit! Okay.
I am.
And you never
old.
even tried it again. Good Lord.
No. That was the one and only time. I really liked it, but then I thought that was probably dangerous because it was like it's not something that you can drink huge glasses of. You know, sake is very potent, and it was like one glass, and it was the most delicious thing I ever drank. And then afterward, I was like,
slippery slope. Yeah, smart man. Man.
Yeah.
It is.
But I do like soda. So the book I picked is Tart by Kevin Joseph.
Tart. Yeah, we had him on about Tart. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite indie stories. I mean, I have a lot of favorites, but it's like the top of my list. It's like the one thing that I am so excited for when he gets ready to launch a campaign or anything is Tart.
What's the element of that comic that like speaks to you the most, to the best of your ability to put it into words? Because sometimes I know.
I like the time traveling aspect of it. I love time travel in general. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. I've been a Doctor Who fan since I was a little kid, and which is a long time ago, by the way. And so I really enjoy that aspect of it, and the fact that he sprinkles in the historical parts of what's going on in the world and interweaves that into a story, because that's kind of something that I like as well. The whole time traveling, demon hunting, characters is right up my alley. So, and then, Ludwig's art is just crazy. It is so good. It is so good. His colors are amazing.
Such a chameleon from
it's just breathtaking, and it's just
I mean, he did like gold leaf stamping on some of his original art.
Yeah, crazy stuff. I mean, he just does. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and so
I'm hoping his page rate is like $1,000.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I know that primarily the Kickstarters that they run is paying for Ludo's next bit, right? They're always trying to pay him, and get him paid the right way, I think
because Tart was Ludo's original idea. From the very get-go, and then Kevin, he reached out to a writer because he's like, I love the idea, but I'm not a writer. Like, I can't write it as a story. And so I think it really is a partnership between the two of them, where they're trying to get money for Ludo, but Kevin's not having to pay a page rate as the writer who owns everything, and Ludo's just work for hire. It's Ludo's story, and Kevin, if anything, Kevin's the work for hire, even though he's not. But it's sort of a weird backward or inverse way of most comics getting made. So
And if you're listening, Ludo, Kevin, hey guys.
So what I chose to go with it, since I'm a huge soda nut, I chose a soda that it's a strawberry lime soda. It's fruity, but it's got a lot of acidic to it, which basically fits the character Tart Acid, who's the main character of the story. And it's from Jones. I don't know if you guys know Jones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I am a huge fan of Jones soda, and I thought that would be the best pairing for the comic. Considering, and I think it fits with the whole wine aspect as well. It's got that fruitiness, a little bit of a tartness to it, just like a wine. So
you know about,
and one of the main characters is Hell Strawberry.
Yes, exactly.
What happened?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. We were talking over you.
Sorry,
everyone froze. I was saying, John Jones just dropped their cannabis line of sodas about 6 months ago, which have been doing fairly well.
I cannot imagine those tasting well. I'm sorry. I'm a fan of edibles, but I mean, like, they don't taste good, man.
They probably have somewhat. If you read about the way some of their sodas are made, like I read up a little bit on the strawberry lime one, just to, and they have this whole they have to do the strawberry before the lime. They said they tried to do the lime first and then add the strawberry, and nobody will ever drink that because they said it was just so bad. So they probably have some way of infusing it. I have no idea. I wouldn't be partaking in the cannabis version, although I don't see any problem with that. I just, I'm just a straight soda guy.
All right, John, let's talk soda then. What's your what are your sort of legacy go-to sodas? I'll ask you this. Where are you from in the world, by the way?
I'm from San Diego, California.
San Diego. Do you remember a soda brand called Knee-High?
Knee-High, yeah.
Yes. They have a peach soda that
my favorite.
I'm pretty sure it's illegal. Pretty sure it's illegal.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
And I'm not a soda guy. It's just way too sweet for me.
But it's
mind blowing.
Well, because they use that's one of the things that I look for in soda too, is that do they use pure cane sugar? They use pure cane sugar, So does Jones Soda, so does Boyland.
Yeah.
There's a number of great small soda, Sprectors. I don't know if you know them. They're out of Wisconsin. They actually make beer as well. They make a lot of stouts and stuff. And they're very Midwest. I lived for 11 years in Chicago, so so anyway,
Have you been to the Coke headquarters in Atlanta?
I have not been there. No, I have never been. I've only been to Atlanta as far as flying into Atlanta. I've never actually been to the surrounding area. I have been to Bentonville, Arkansas, which is near where Will Allred lives, and but yeah.
Right.
It's
Have
nothing
you ever
to do
been
with
to
Atlanta,
Disney? Is it in Florida? It is. It's near Disney World, and there's like the Disney Town area, and they also have like a Coke section where it's like you can get Coke sodas from all over the world. The Coke does, and you can get like a flight of them of like 20 different sodas, like all like shot size of each one from like every single country. And like, have you ever done that type of a thing or not yet?
No, but I will be.
It's so amazing because there are flavors and styles of soda out there that like none of them are imported here, so you can only get them at these little like Coke places where they'll give you the flight, and they're so worth it. They're really good.
Nice.
My supervisor is from Honduras, and she tells me about this. They have like a Coca-Cola sign that looks like the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
It's like the funniest thing.
Yeah.
That is branding, big branding in other countries, and they can get away with it because they're sort of like, wait, you're just going to let us put this sign here? Like, we can't do that in America. This is great. Let's do it.
And like in Hollywood, like you can't go to the sign. Like it's blocked off. Like there's no way to get to it. But like like there's people just like climbing on it. They're like, hey, this is great.
Right. No, what's the word I'm looking for? No, they're not responsible for anyone getting hurt by climbing the thing. And see, here, that's the thing. If you let them if you build that sign and then let people climb on it, they're like, well, now you're liable. Now you're liable for the fact that this person fell off it. And it's sort of like, but yeah, probably in Honduras, they're like, nope, you decided to climb that thing. That's on you.
I think the major problem with like the Hollywood side was people were purposely jumping off of it. Like, that was always a huge thing. You know,
and I think probably a lot of people that like weren't making it in Hollywood, so it was symbolic and why.
Exactly.
There are a number of movies to that effect, actually.
Yeah,
that should have been the ending to BoJack Horseman right there.
You know what?
Except it was a little happier than that.
I'm a late comer to the BoJack party, and it's easily top 5 best written shows of all time.
Oh, that's great. We just
it's God, the underwater, completely wordless episode. I mean, and then the funeral, where it's just his speech at the funeral for the whole episode. And at first you're like, oh wow, this is quite an opening, and then you're like, oh wow, they're really going for it. This is long, and then about halfway through, you're like, are they actually going to make this the whole episode? And then 20 minutes in, you're like, holy fucking shit, this is the whole episode. That's brilliant, because it is captivating. Like, it's a good speech. You're like, I can listen to this as a monologue. This is amazing. So yeah, that show tried so many things and got away with it and did it well, which I think is the thing. It was rarely experimental in a way that you were like, admirable failure, but no, guys, don't do that. Never do that again. But kudos on you for being brave. It's like, no, everything they did just worked gangbusters. So such a good show.
Right.
Yeah. But Wurst Mayhem is what everyone should be actually spending their money on. If you already have a Netflix subscription, go watch BoJack Horseman. If you don't, spend the money on Wurst and Mayhem.
Or do both.
$8
do both. Get it now before the next special of Wurst and Mayhem comes out.
Right.
There you go. There you go. And especially, once again, if you want those alt covers that we looked at, if any of those floated your boat, this is probably only available for the next 22 hours. You have until 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow to get in on that. So get in on that. All right, guys. Thank you so much to Villain Ryan Kobroth and Knight John Edingfield II for being on the Wine and Comics Pairing Show. We appreciate it, guys. I'm sure it won't be the last time. And Dallas in the background of the next Wurst and Mayhem, sipping his wine and stepping over bodies. Let's see what happens. All right, folks. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will
Thanks,
see you next
guys.
time. Next week, we have Jessica Mason coming on Monday for her Mary Shelley's School of Monsters Origins #2. So come join us then. If you love Mary Shelley, if you love monsters, if you love YA and all ages books, this is going to be one for you. So we will see you then. And until then, peace out. We will see you next time.
Night, guys.